Welcome to this video on how to invest a $2 million windfall in your early 50s and retire early. We will walk through tax triage, portfolio design, the role of fiduciaries, and how to manage risk so your wealth lasts decades. Let's begin by setting expectations and outlining the journey ahead. In this agenda, we will begin with why immediate action matters. Next, we will cover tax triage for inherited accounts, then explore when to hire a fiduciary versus doing it yourself. After that, we will build an index fund foundation and discuss stock allocation for a 30 to 40-year financial horizon. Then we will implement an actionable checklist, address risks and pitfalls, and finish with a couple of quizzes to lock in the knowledge. Let's move into the context first. You have received a substantial inheritance in your early 50s. This changes the dynamics of retirement planning across taxes, timelines, and risk. We will build a durable plan that is simple, low cost, and tax-aware, while keeping your long-term goals front and center. Now, before decisions are made, we must address a crucial disclaimer. This content is for educational purposes only and is not financial, tax, or legal advice. Inherited accounts, especially inherited IRAs, have strict distribution rules and potential penalties. Always consult a qualified fiduciary financial advisor and a certified public accountant for your specific situation. With that established, let's move into the first technical decision: how your inheritance transfers. When transferring inherited investment accounts, especially IRAs, assets generally transfer in kind if you remain within the same brokerage or to compatible accounts elsewhere. In-kind transfer means you move the securities without selling, which typically avoids triggering a taxable event. However, proprietary funds often cannot be moved and may be liquidated to cash, which can create taxes and fees. Inherited IRAs carry strict distribution rules, frequently the 10-year rule, which requires the account to be fully distributed within 10 years. Because penalties can be severe, you should consult a CPA immediately. Now that you understand transfers, let's triage taxes during the critical early period. In the first 30 to 60 days, inventory all accounts including taxable brokerage, inherited IRAs, and any Roth accounts. Verify proper inherited titling to preserve tax status. Pull cost basis and lot history for taxable accounts. Confirm whether required minimum distributions or a 10-year distribution rule applies to inherited IRAs and document deadlines. Pause major lifestyle changes until the tax landscape is clear. Finally, schedule a session with a CPA and, if needed, a flat-fee fiduciary for coordinated planning. Next, we will discuss whether you should hire ongoing help or manage the portfolio yourself. It can be wise to hire a flat-fee fiduciary for one-time planning or complex tax modeling. They can clarify the tax landscape and help model retirement cash flows. However, paying ongoing percentage of assets fees for basic portfolio management is usually unnecessary. Many successful investors rely on simple, low-cost index funds and manage their portfolios independently. With that in mind, let's compare the costs and benefits directly. On the left, an ongoing advisor who charges a percentage of assets may cost 1% per year, which is $20,000 annually, on $2 million. They may provide behavioral coaching and convenience, but can introduce complexity over time. On the right, a flat-fee consultation focuses on targeted tax and retirement modeling at a substantially lower cost. And do-it-yourself investing with index funds keeps expenses minimal. You retain control and simplicity. With the cost picture clarified, let's construct a durable portfolio foundation. A strong core portfolio uses broad index funds. For United States exposure, select a total U.S. market fund such as VTI or an S&P 500 fund like VOO. For international exposure, use a total international fund such as VXUS or VTIAX. To stabilize the ride, add a total bond market fund such as BND. Keep expense ratios low. Diversify across thousands of securities, and automate contributions and rebalancing. Next, we will visualize the entire plan with a mind map to reinforce the moving parts. This mind map centers on a $2 million windfall plan. The taxes branch highlights inherited IRA rules, required distributions, coordination with a CPA, and correct account titling. The portfolio branch emphasizes total market index funds, low expense ratios, rebalancing bands, and an investment policy statement. The withdrawal strategy branch includes a 3 to 4% starting range, dynamic guardrails, tax-efficient account sequencing, and a 1 to 2 year cash buffer. The risk branch covers inflation, sequence risk, concentration risk, and behavioral pitfalls. The team branch lists a flat-fee fiduciary, CPA, and estate attorney, while the estate branch includes wills, powers of attorney, transfer on death designations, and trusts as appropriate. Now, let's turn this into an actionable implementation plan. Begin by drafting an investment policy statement outlining goals, risk tolerance, target allocation, and rebalancing rules. Next, optimize asset location by placing bonds primarily in IRA accounts and holding tax-efficient stock ETFs in taxable accounts. Consolidate holdings into low-cost index funds. Automate contributions toward the target allocation and establish 1 to 2% rebalancing bands. Maintain a cash buffer of 12 to 24 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. Implement a withdrawal plan starting in the 3 to 4% range, and adjust using guardrails and tax considerations. Finally, review annually with a CPA and keep beneficiaries and estate documents current. With the plan in place, we need to address the stock allocation debate for a long retirement horizon. If you retire around age 55, your portfolio may need to last 30 to 40 years, which requires long-term growth to outpace inflation. For financially secure investors, a higher equity allocation in the range of 70 to 80% can be appropriate. The decision should be based on true risk tolerance and spending flexibility, not age alone. Moreover, time in the market tends to beat market timing, so simple and consistent allocation is advantageous. To make options concrete, here are sample allocations by risk profile. This table shows 3 sample allocations. A growth-leaning profile might hold 60% U.S. stocks, 20% international stocks, and 20% bonds, with a 1 to 2 year cash buffer. A balanced profile shifts to 50% U.S., 20% international, and 30% bonds. A conservative profile emphasizes bond ballast with 40% U.S., 20% international, and 40% bonds, and maintains a 2-year cash buffer. These are examples to illustrate trade-offs between growth potential and volatility. Next, let's visualize the journey from inheritance to early retirement as a process. This sequence diagram begins with the heir taking inventory of accounts, followed by a CPA review to determine tax obligations and inherited IRA deadlines. Next is transferring assets in kind where possible, then consolidating into core index funds. A cash buffer of 12 to 24 months is established. A withdrawal plan, in the 3 to 4% range with guardrails, is implemented. Finally, the plan is maintained through annual reviews and rebalancing, supporting the early retirement lifestyle. With the process mapped out, let's cover common pitfalls and how to avoid them. Avoid missing inherited IRA distribution deadlines because penalties can be severe. Replace high-cost proprietary funds with low-cost index funds to reduce drag. Be careful about overspending early in retirement, since poor returns early on can permanently impair the portfolio. Coordinate withdrawals across taxable, IRA, and Roth accounts to manage taxes. Finally, prevent complexity creep by keeping the plan simple and automated. Now, let's solidify your understanding with a quick quiz. Question: which transfer method typically avoids unnecessary taxable events when moving inherited investments between compatible accounts? Options: A. Liquidate to cash first, then rebuy. B. Transfer in kind. C. Convert everything to bonds before transferring. D. Sell and wait 31 days to avoid wash sales. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is transfer in kind. Moving the securities as they are typically avoids creating a taxable event. Now let's move to a second question on allocation and time horizon. Question: for a financially secure early retiree with a 30 to 40 year horizon, which equity allocation range is often reasonable to support growth against inflation? Options: A. 30 to 40% stocks. B. 48 to 68% stocks. C. 70 to 80% stocks. D. 90 to 100% stocks. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is 70 to 80% stocks. With a long time horizon and sufficient financial security, a higher equity allocation can support growth, provided you can tolerate volatility. Next, let's add a compact markdown toolkit you can save for reference. Here is a compact markdown toolkit you can copy for your notes. It includes a goals section with target retirement age, a cash buffer, and an allocation template. The rules section covers rebalancing thresholds, initial withdrawal rates, and tax-efficient withdrawal order. The to-do section lists actionable tasks, including titling inherited accounts correctly, scheduling professional consultations, consolidating to core index funds, drafting an investment policy statement, and automating transfers. Now, let's highlight the key takeaways. Key takeaways. Act promptly on taxes and inherited IRA rules. Consider flat-fee fiduciaries for complex planning, but manage a low-cost index portfolio yourself. Build with total market funds and automate rebalancing. For long horizons, consider a 70 to 80% equity allocation if your risk tolerance allows. Above all, keep the plan simple, diversified, and tax-aware. Next, let's summarize the action plan one more time. To recap, inventory and correctly title accounts, verifying distribution deadlines. Consult a CPA and consider a flat-fee fiduciary for one-time planning. Transfer assets in kind when possible and consolidate into low-cost index funds. Establish a target allocation and cash buffer, then automate contributions and rebalancing. Finally, implement tax-efficient withdrawals and review the plan annually. As we close, here's how you can support the channel and continue the conversation. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you chart a path to early retirement after a windfall, please like the video, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more content. We would also love to hear your ideal allocation and the reasoning behind it in the comments. See you in the next video.